Hey friend, so in this video what I want to talk about is how I used 4 big ideas to get to 1 million since 2023. This is an old email that I wrote to my email list, sort of giving them the update when it happened and referring back to this post over here where I made the announcement, sort of like, little Netflix character looking to put on a bold promise. Whether it happened or not, I have been documenting this part of the journey and stopped since I hit there. But this was January 2024 where this happened. The video over here was January 2025. But now, August 5th, 2025, I did a sort of reflective post on truly what it was that made this switch, aside from the monetary side. And I wanted to share a little bit about it before I dive into the post. So for me, you're not in the business of selling services. You are in the business of selling ideas, because nobody buys a product until they've bought the belief that makes that thing make sense, right? So belief that the change is possible, or belief that your way is better, or belief that now is the time to actually kick butt and take action. So you can stack features, you can pitch harder, you can build prettier things and offers and landing pages, but if they're not sold on the actual idea behind it, they keep scrolling. So that means your content's job isn't to explain what you do, but it's to make someone feel seen in a way that shifts how they see themselves. Right? I want to just repeat that for a moment. Your content's job is to make someone feel seen in a way that shifts how they see themselves. So the idea comes first. The product rides the coattails after that thing happens. So if you want people to buy faster, easier, and more often, we shouldn't write to sell our offer. We should start writing to sell the belief that makes your offer inevitable, right? And the core principle of that is one of my ideas that I'll show you in a second, called power writing, which comes back into play here. So if you can get someone to buy the idea, the product then sells itself. So I just want to show you here that this was the plan that I made. It was a year ago on LinkedIn. Picture over here with my now wifey. So I just said, here's how I'm going to build a 7-figure business. I brought it out. I said, I'm going to do one-to-one access. I'm going to do community access, async, private content. I was still figuring things out, but some of these things are still true. Like, I actually use a lot of the fundamentals here. And then said, I'm going to have coaching and mentorship. I'm going to build an audience through content organically. I'm going to scale the offers, and then as I sort of went along, I then, like in this email, sort of told people where I was at. So I did an announcement at 25%, at 50% and whatnot. And then in January, let's see if I can find it over here. So there's the other update that I did April 27th, 2024. So I was constantly telling people on my list where I'm at, what's working, what isn't, bringing back, the iteration here where I brought in this thing called the Daily Client Engine and, did one-to-one consulting workshops and private community. So I was refining it as I went along and letting people know what was going on. So this is now my most recent post a day ago that I just, wrote a text post and sort of said, at the core, why are we in the business of selling ideas? What were my ideas? And can somebody, gain some value from reading this? So I wanted to give a little more context here. So these ideas that I had came without sort of selling your soul to the devil. The same way Nike came up with the quote, just do it, or maybe Apple had 1,000 songs in your pocket. Those were all ideas. And with Nike, their sales grew from 800 million to 9.2 billion. And I think a large part of it was the idea. So for me, I had 4 ideas that I doubled down on, sort of abandoned this one for a little bit and then realized, why am I not talking about it? But I, embraced my funnel era here and then came back to it. But power writing was basically me saying, in a sea of copywriters or on LinkedIn specifically, a lot of people were talking about going viral and growth and this and that. For me, power writing was all about shifting beliefs, speaking to the heart, not the mind, and writing like a dog whistle. So only your ideal clients could hear it. Every post was a shift. Every line showed what I do, not how I do it. So the right people needed me right now. So when it came to power writing, a lot of people said, Jacob, you went from like 10K followers to 30K in a matter of months. Why did you stop? I've sort of been just under 50K now, but stopped sort of growing in a way because of power writing, because to me it wasn't the numbers. I had enough of an audience to keep going. But what was more important was building an audience of true fans that actually listen, that, create a community around it. And that was the idea of power writing. And people would come to me and be like, man, I want to be a power writer. I had a little workshop called Power Write Like a Mother Flower. So I drilled that a lot, and, dog whistling as part of power writing was literally being really specific and intentional with how you write. So I'm not speaking broadly about, 10 tips to deal with a toxic workplace, for example. I'm being really specific to someone, understanding their sophistication level, and only their ears perk up. So if I said, I help women lose weight, that is broad. But if I said I help single moms in their 40s lose weight without having to run or cut carbs, can you see how I've just gone a little more specific? So yeah, that's the principle of that idea. The other one was my Micro Snack Cartel, where most people trying to sell the entire cake, get a lead, get them on a call, go sell them a 5K offer or whatever. I would love to give them little micro snacks before selling them the full course meal. So I would extract assets from my high ticket programs, turn them into $29, $49, $99 products as such, and then take it from there. So once someone buys, then they're 10 times more likely to buy again. So I can create customers and, repeat customers, etc. So what this created for me was, first of all, I would give life to existing assets, right, that were otherwise collecting dust instead of collecting gold. And then I would indoctrinate people into my world by giving them a micro snack and allowing them to do something, shift their behavior into taking action. And then naturally the next step would be either to buy another micro snack or to buy the high ticket offer. But it was so much easier to talk to people that have already become customers than trying to convince leads. So I skipped the convincing, I just created proof. So the Micro Snack Cartel is how you line up these assets, turn them into, micro snacks or offers in order to create more customers. One of my favorite things in the world. Actually came from, now thinking about it, me watching, I think it was the Pablo Escobar Netflix series, or Griselda, where they sold like little snacks before they sold people the bigger snacks, wherever they were. So that was how I named this. And then the other one is this proximity ladder. So to me, the proximity ladder, which I'll just show you here briefly, a little picture. When somebody opts into my list, I can put it down in the description below. You see this little thing here is basically the proximity ladder. So I'm saying the closer you get to me, I'm selling access, right? So the closer you get to me, the more you pay, but it doesn't mean that you have to be up here. You can also be in a group setting. You can buy a digital product once off. And I'm selling essentially vertically, not horizontally, by ascending people up the proximity ladder. There's other videos that I can drop down below, or you can watch this one later. But basically, I ditched having multiple offers. I had one offer with multiple layers of proximity, and just removed access based on how close someone was to me. So whether it was low, mid, high ticket, it was all one big happy product with different rungs on that ladder. What that enabled you to do is basically extract more from your existing clients, right? Or make offers to your clients who wanted to pay for more speed, and you're doing sort of like inwards marketing instead of outwards, or like back-end marketing, if you like. And then the fifth and most important one, like I built a brand around the Modern Maker. For those of you who have been watching and you know me, this will make sense. If you haven't, there's plenty of videos that describe that. But at the core, it's not a system, it's an identity that you become. It runs, a Modern Maker runs a marketing-driven business, not a sales-driven one. And Modern Maker came from my love for my granddad, who passed away a few years ago, but he was a maker. He used to put bits and pieces together and, had hotel equipment and sold lots of things by the seaside, whether it was pots and pans and glasses and all sorts. But he loved to build things and had a garden and whatnot, and would always tell me about the ancient Greeks and how they built the Parthenon, and the Egyptians who built the pyramids by stacking bricks together. And I was the complete opposite of that. I can't use my hands. I'm pretty terrible with that. But what I was good at was stacking digital bytes and content and hooks and offers and landing pages and, all of the creative marketing side of, assembling components together to run this marketing-driven business. And the belief that I instilled, which is sort of my shadow here, is you don't need the sales calls, you don't need the hustle and the DMs, even though those systems work. I wanted to build a lifestyle empire where I was a present dad, I was around my daughter. So the Modern Maker was the embodiment of that, where we simply have one offer, one email, and one post every day. We build the system once and then it does the heavy lifting for us. I'll also drop a video down below called the Modern Maker OS, and you can have a look if you want, which breaks it down into more logical steps. But you're looking at this identity from an architect lens, not a technician, not a sales bro, not a marketer, somebody who assembles components together. And that was a huge aha moment for me. So these are my 4 big ideas that got me to 1.19 million from 2023 to 2025. I've been able to serve over 300 clients and 4,000 customers or so now with digital products, take them up and down the proximity ladder. But big ideas create alignment, like I wrote here, and they're not just tools, they're a reason to exist. So we are, you can see me do it in this post. We're here to build things our way, the Modern Maker way. So I'm instilling that identity into the big idea and drilling back home the one offer, one post, and one email. So there's definitely ideas in your head. It all started for me by simply writing processes, and being like, I don't just want to call this a funnel, right? Funnels are boring. So I gave it life. I personified it. Could even add like little trademark symbols to these things. But there's so many ideas in our heads that we can take and give life to. And also what happens from a high ticket standpoint is it sounds a lot more premium. You're the only one who has this, let's call it a unique mechanism in this case, the thing that's going to take someone from hell to heaven, right? The bridge. But it all starts with an idea. So I would be curious to hear where your head is at. Feel free to discuss down below. I hope you enjoyed this video and it got you thinking a little bit, but there's definitely an idea in you, and the more you put yourself out there, the more you stand out in a sea of noise, and you can be yourself. So hope it was useful. Hit that subscribe, sending you a ton of love, and I'll see you in the next video.